Hey everybody, it's Stippling here, and I have 4 brand new 2016 Toa boxes. Now don't get excited, this isn't a giveaway. Instead, this is a Let's Build video of the brand new LEGO Club exclusive Bionicle Combi-Builds. Now this week they came out with 2 instruction sheets for these 2 combination builds, one for Kopaka and Gali, the other for Pohatu and Tahu. I'm going to do 2 Let's Build videos, one for each. First, we're going to start with Unity 2, featuring Pohatu and Tahu. We're starting with 2 because it's fun to be different sometimes, and I wanted to see this one more. So let's start by opening up the boxes and seeing our parts. Now that we got all the parts sorted, let's go ahead and get started. So this is it, the big combination model, and overall I'm not all that impressed. It's not that far-fetched to think that this is just a Tahu with some of Pohatu's parts ripped off, and that's really what it is to just the naked eye. Even though the construction's vastly different from the original Tahu, it just looks the same. It looks very, very similar. Starting with the feet, you can easily tell that these are nearly identical. The only change is that piece just kind of tacked in there in that little gap section that's usually just left empty. There's still the same Borak eye in that azure color. Continuing on to the legs, the leg construction is different. There's definitely some differences here. They're more bulked out. They essentially took the qualities of the arms this time and put them in the legs, and then took what was in the legs in the official model and put them into the arms. So it's really just a swap. So it's a what if scenario. What if we had switched the parts entirely? It looks good, but it really weakens the overall aesthetic of the upper arms. It makes him look thinner and not as tough as he was up the top. So it'd be interesting. I'd be curious to see what it would look like with those lower legs combined with the official 2016 upper arms, or just arms in general for that matter. Putting those two together, you'd really have a tough, strong-looking Tahu. Focusing on his back region, you can see there's a lot of articulated points here. There is these wing assemblies here. They just kind of go back and forth. They're stopped by that piece of the red axle hanging out there, which is fine. And they just add some shaping. They really can accentuate the shoulders in a way that are lost with the change of parts on the arms. There's also these wrist hand blade things. The hands aren't actually supposed to be hands, they're just supposed to be holders for these blades. And while that's cool, it removes entirely the ability to unify with this alternate build. Instead, you get this swiveling armor piece that's backwards that just It looks awkward, it never stays put. Same with this section here, it just kind of likes to swivel out of the vertical position, and it's just weird. It looks nice, this part looks okay, it looks good. This is, I feel like they should just rip that out entirely and keep the unification, maybe alter these outward more so that Akira could still attach on somewhere. Looking at Tahu's weapons, we get one sword mace combo build and one shield that looks mysteriously like an upper torso. Looking specifically at the blade, it's a cool construction. It's not that far different from Pohatu's weapon. It's essentially the same with kind of a hand guard, which this hand guard's surprisingly ineffective. It has the hand still exposed there. Same complaints that I had with the Pohatu weapon itself remain with this one. It's just weird, it's clunky. It's cool though, I mean, I like the rock thing. It's just not practical, but that's kind of the magic of Bionicle. It doesn't necessarily have to be practical, but even in a realistic point of view, you can see how it starts to fall apart when you use the action feature. Like, that does not look comfortable as a warrior to be swinging that around, and it doesn't look that useful. The most minor adjustments your body makes sends that thing flying, and it's just not safe. I do feel that this handguard region is ineffective, and I think what bothers me the most about that is how simply it could be fixed. I know that this is supposed to blend into the blade. It's supposed to be kind of a silver blend to neon, but I feel like the problems would be solved if you just took this and swapped it around. With that one armor piece swapped, his hand is actually protected now, and he is safe to do battle. This shield really kind of killed it for me. When I put these pieces on, at that point I realized I didn't like this figure anymore. It's just weird. I mean, I don't really have to describe why it's weird. They try to cover up the breastplate region of that with this, and it just does not come out right. It's gaudy, mainly due to that the colors are so different from the main figure. I do like to talk about the positives. I do like how he holds it. It's pretty interesting. He's even got another hand guard. This one would be more useful because nothing could really cross that beam region, but it's just strange. I'd encourage someone who likes this sword and shield version of Tahu to use some inspirations from this design and make something better. Maybe take the 2015 weapons and make it like a Kopaka version of a shield with an added flair, like maybe you can keep that handguard in or something like that, but this is just strange. Taking a look specifically on how this Unity 2 model compares to the 2016 version of Tahu, you can see that the majority of the Unity version is just a bulked out version of Tahu. There isn't really all that much different other than the weapons. It's just a different configuration of parts with a bigger torso. And that bigger torso removes the capacity for Tahu to unify, which in my personal opinion is a loss. While this comparison's humorous at best, it is interesting to look at the what carries over from the actual 2016 Pohatu into this figure, and it's very clear that not very much does. This harkens back a lot to the 2015 combiner models where the Toa just essentially take pieces off of their smaller version to create some kind of weaponry to assist them, but the core model itself remains the same. And that's evident here. Tahu takes Pohatu's chest plate and various other pieces to make his weapons, but if you were to remove those aspects from this combiner model, you would essentially have no idea that Pohatu even played a minor portion in its construction. Speaking of Pohatu's contributions, you can see a lot of what remains in the spare parts is Pohatu's accessories. There's not all that much left of Tahu, and what's left is still explored in the build itself. These are just spares that were pulled from Pohatu instead. The eye stalk, the head, the core body piece, and a lot of spare parts that are kind of neutral, but they lean, again, more towards Pohatu's parts. So my overall impressions of this figure are not that positive. I was very excited to make it, but now that I have it built up, I really don't feel like I have anything that's all that different from 2016 Tahu. The weapons obviously are different, but the majority of it's identical or similar enough. I would have really appreciated a new model that utilized more of the parts, especially those trans neon greenish yellow parts. We could have really had some kind of different construction out of this that just does not appear here. And while I appreciate what LEGO's trying to do, encouraging kids to take their parts and build something different, I just don't think this one stands up in terms of a display model. So it's going to be destroyed and put into my parts bin pretty much right after I'm done with this video. But those are just my thoughts. I'm curious to see what you guys think. Please post in the comments if you like this figure, if you think it's worth building, if you think it's worth keeping, and if you think I missed anything in terms of my critique on it. Thanks for watching.